Welcome to Reality Tea Times 2, the podcast where we discuss all the trash reality TV we love to hate. I'm Tanika, and today we are going to be discussing the most recent episode of The Other Way, episode 12. But before we do, we are going to do some hot goss. So actually all of these articles I have not read beforehand. So we're going to be doing this one together. So the first piece is in respects to Devin, who Jen picked at the end, as we know, having a restraining order against him that kind of puts the Bachelorette or the Bachelor franchise in kind of maybe a little bit of a hot water, because what is your vetting process kind of, right? So this news surfaced, uh, saying that Devin was arrested for burglarizing an ex-girlfriend's Louisiana home in 2017. The revelation calls into question the franchise's vetting process yet again, because we obviously dealt with the little bit of the backlash with Gary being the first Golden Bachelor, and the story just not being quite what it actually was in real life. But here's what happened. So 2 weeks after the finale, um, actually, no, back up. Yeah, sorry, this comes just 2 weeks after the finale. That's what happened. So in addition to the arrest, documents from the Baton Rouge Police Department state that Devin's ex had a restraining order at the time, saying, quote, "We take the safety of our contestants very seriously and make every effort to conduct thorough diligence. As exhaustive as our vetting process is, this protective order did not surface in our searches." And this was said by a source close to the production. The 2017 restraining order was sealed, which would explain why it would not have appeared in a background check. But the burglary arrest affidavit is public record, so that should have been enough, meaning production would have been able to access that. Sources also told Deadline that Devin's arrest was flagged and he was questioned about the trespassing charge, but gave a different explanation for it. So they did see it, they did question him about it, but he gave an explanation that didn't quite match what happened, and they let it go. Personally, for me, like you don't want to alienate someone from the process because he may have had a burglary charge. But I mean, get something like burglary, that's kind of a big deal without the background of the ex-girlfriend being in the mix of that. So why was he allowed to be on the show? But let's continue. It's not clear whether production requested the arrest affidavit from the Baton Rouge police, though it would appear, not considering that the document does reference the protective order, interesting, and give details on the circumstances of the arrest. So it does, even though the actual restraining order is sealed, it does make mention to the restraining order in the affidavit of his burglary charge. Come on. Let's continue, though. This is not the first time, as we know, that a contestant on the Bachelor franchise has had a criminal past that flew under the radar, despite the fact that ABC and Warner Brothers, the producer of the franchise, conduct background checks prior to casting. In 2018, production was confronted with news that season 14 contestant Lincoln Adim, which I don't remember who this is, had once been arrested for indecent assault and battery. The franchise has also been involved in multiple scandals for casting contestants who had engaged in insensitive and sometimes problematic behavior on social media. Since 2020, production has often posted potential contestants online prior to finalizing the cast, which has allowed audiences to do their own sleuthing on their past. So basically, they're posting people online prior to, which we've definitely seen. I mean, Jen's cast of men was unofficially announced before it was officially announced. And I think it was the same thing with Joey's cast as well. Same thing. So we've had kind of these unofficial things kind of pop up. And I guess they do that so that people can do their sleuthing for them. So we have to do your job for you and for free. Come on now. You should be doing, I mean, it's good to, it's kind of, it's good in a sense that, kind of like in a law firm or any company really, where you have to do conflict checks before accepting a client for whatever reason, you do conflict searches. And sometimes conflict searches, and depending on the company, I've been in law firms where conflict searches are a little different depending on the size of the company. But one of those things could be sending out emails to lawyers saying, here's those details or whatever. Here are those details of this client. Do you work with them? Do you have files with them? Have you had files with them that maybe won't get picked up in a conflict search that's done more diligently? So it can be done, absolutely. But I think like a huge company like this that have been around for 20 plus years, get it together. We shouldn't have to do your work because that clearly didn't work. Because not everyone's going to look on there and be like, oh my God, that's my ex, right? Not everyone's going to do that. And this is what he did to me. And we've seen that many times before, So let's do a little better. It's not just Bachelor, but it's 90 Day, the Love is Blind, same thing. It's to do a little better with vetting people. But anyways, that's that. Let's move on to the next piece. And this is very recent. This is having to do with Golden Bachelorette. I have not done my episode for Golden Bachelorette yet. This is just coming 2 days after the episode was premiered. So if you haven't watched the episode yet, you don't know anything having to do with this. It's not really spoiler per se, but if you don't know who the contestants are, then by all means you can skip this part and we're going to go straight into the episode after, so maybe a few minutes or so, and go into the episode. But if you have seen the episode or you don't care if this is going to be spoiler or anything like that, let's go ahead. If you don't remember what he looks like, we did post the cast on our socials, which would have been only a few weeks ago. So you can probably head over there and you can take a look at what he looks like, who we're going to be talking about in this one. So let's get to it. So Golden Bachelorette ran clear background check on contestant Gil Ramirez before ex's temporary restraining order was posted. This is interesting. So let's go to it. So People has obtained documents alleging that Gil has a past of stalking, with an ex-girlfriend filing a temporary restraining order against him just 3 months ago, which would have probably been just around the time that they probably would have started filming. According to a court filing dated June 11th, which a source close to the show says was just days before production began, a woman who claimed to have been dating him was granted a temporary restraining order citing harassment, emotional harassment, saying, quote, despite telling him to not contact me, come to my house, he made repeated unwanted contact with me, family members, and friends. This is what the ex claimed in the request for a domestic violence restraining order, although she clarified she had not been physically injured by him at all. Quote, 25 attempts daily via phone, text, and video. Although lives an hour away from her, he would show up at places I frequent to confront me on a daily basis. This is a little scary. The woman noted at the time that the alleged harassment had been going on for a 2-week period thus far, so it's very recent. She requested Gil not contact her and stay away from her home, her workplace, her vehicle, and her children's school. A judge granted the temporary restraining order that same day and set a hearing for July 2nd, which I'm going to assume he may or may not have been able to get to, depending on how long he sticks around. Now, I honestly can't remember if he got a rose. Spoiler, maybe. I think he did. So depending on how long he's there for, he may not get to this hearing. But on July 2nd, The hearing actually was postponed as the order was unable to be served on him because he wasn't there. Because of this, documentation from the court shows the hearing was set to take place on July 24th, and the temporary restraining order was continued. Again, he was maybe not even there then to get it served on him prior to the July 24th hearing, but let's continue. By the next hearing date, court minutes showed that the woman was, quote, sworn and testified, and, quote, the case is dismissed without prejudice for lack of prosecution for lack of service. So her case, this just in case legalese doesn't make sense to anybody, her case was basically, they got rid of her case. Her case no longer is happening due to the fact that they were not able to serve this thing on him because he probably either A, was still filming for Bachelorette, or B, he could also be evading. Now, I don't know how things are done I mean, again, if he lives alone, doesn't have anyone else at home, then there's nothing you can really do. But if he did live at home with someone else, an adult, they can serve it on them. It doesn't have to be served. But then again, that's what we do here in Canada. I can't speak to that's how things are done in the States, but that's how things would be done here. This has to be served on an adult. Who can accept service on his behalf. But of course, if he lives in by himself, because again, these are older gentlemen who probably have homes of their own, it's very possible that there's nobody there to accept service. But that really sucks for her that this had to be done in this way because he's just not there. Because what are the chances that he comes, like if he has this tendency and potentially has always had this tendency, what are the chances that he, doesn't go through, he's on a person going the distance with Joan, and he goes home, gets settled, and what are the chances that he doesn't resume his stalking of the ex-girlfriend? Hell, what are the chances that if he gets really hung up on Joan, what are the chances that he doesn't do that to her? Like, this is what we mean, by that. And in their and the production's defense, this was filed before, and he's already selected as one of the men. But my God. So yeah, the temporary restraining order was also dropped. A source close to the Golden Bachelorette tells people that, quote, this filing occurred in the brief period between completion of our thorough background investigation and exhaustive vetting process and the beginning of production. The insider added that due to the information coming out, the show has, quote, further edited his already limited screen time and minimized him in promotional assets moving forward. So again, I can't remember if he was picked. I really can't. But if he wasn't, then yeah, it's minimal. We probably won't see much of him. I don't remember seeing much of him, even in the first episode. But again, this came out just recently, 2 days after. So I remember seeing him, but I don't know. Gil appeared on night 1 of Joan's season of The Golden Bachelorette, which aired on Wednesday, as we know. According to his profile, he's a 60-year-old educator, quote unquote, from Mission Viejo, California. So yes, spoiler alert for those who haven't watched the episode, starting right now, he did receive a rose at the end of the episode and will be continuing to next week of the show. So we are going to see more of him. Yikes, y'all. But people has reached out to him for comment. This is not the first time a member of Bachelor Nation has been caught with questionable background. We've talked about it already. We talked about Devin just now, so we don't have to go through that again. According to a protection from abuse order that's more about Devin. So, but just a little bit more here that we didn't talk about. According to the protection this is regarding Devin, abuse order filed on March 22nd, 2017, which was later obtained by People. The woman told police she returned home from out of town to, quote, find her room burglarized. Sick. And an item was missing days prior to March 19th. So she said that her and Devin had recently broke up and he lived a couple doors down from her. God. Oh my God. She also claimed he was never given a key or unaccompanied access to her apartment when they were together or after. So how'd you get into her apartment? Either he broke in or he was able, like if they lived in an apartment building, he must have found some way to get like the super to get in there for whatever reason, which that is also problematic, and that's not great. To be actually learning a lot more about Devin. So here we go. She later made several complaints, which people obtained, claiming that Devin violated the protection orders and even burned, quote, what appeared to be the actual restraining order outside of her home. On September 19th, Devin spoke out against the allegations, saying, quote, most recently, there have been challenges from a low point in my past that have been brought up and severely misconstrued. Sure, my guy. The accusations are simply not true, as I have never inappropriately laid hands on another individual or treated my ex-girlfriend in any of the ways I have been depicted. You don't have to lay your hands on her. You got possessive or angry because she broke up with you. And that's what happened. Or whatever. The relationship fell apart. And that's what it comes down to. I'm sorry, but like I don't believe you when it comes to Jen. There's some things that maybe I can maybe understand, but I don't believe you. You lied to her. You lied to the audience. So no, I don't believe you. And I really don't believe you when it comes to your ex-girlfriend either, because I just don't. You're a liar. But more on this though. The restraining order was never granted and fully dismissed. That's not what we see here. It was just sealed. There's a difference. It clearly happened, but then it was sealed because time has lapsed. My college ex-girlfriend and I ended up reconciling and eventually ended our relationship on good terms. I don't know about that. This was the first time I ever fell in love, and I learned a lot from our relationship. It was a growing experience for both of us. It doesn't matter if this was your first relationship. A lot of us have first relationships, and this is not how someone acts if a relationship ends. There's clearly something, there's a screw loose, my guy. The, yeah, no. Um, this is an editor's note. Although a judge did grant a temporary restraining order against Devin in March 2017, which was later extended by 1 month to April 2017, a permanent restraining order was never granted because his ex-girlfriend voluntarily dismissed the request. So maybe he is telling a little bit of the truth there. I don't know. Maybe she doesn't want to deal with it. I can't speak to that. I don't want to speak for her, speak to it. I'm not there. So, but that's it for Hot Goss. We talked quite a bit about Bachelor Nation and the problems that men have. So let's move from that. Let's go to the reason that we are here, episode 12 of The Other Way. No hard feelings. So Sarah, Sarper, and Shekinah. So we're just coming off of that little conversation that they had about his behavior, and he wants to show her something. And we go to his car, and in his trunk is all of the bottles, all of his trophies of all of the women's past just sitting in his trunk. And he wants to destroy them. And she's going to go with him. And they go to a junkyard. And he's like, this is great anger. This is anger management 101. And he starts breaking the bottles and he's like getting all like, you could tell he's just releasing all of the bad juju in this moment. And y'all, is there something wrong with me? Because I was a little turned on when they weren't focused on his face because he's so plastic. Um, I I was like, okay, I'm a little turned on at the moment. What's going? Am I? I don't think I'm okay. I think I'm not okay. But there's something just kind of hot about a man breaking some glass. I don't know. But I did find out, thanks to Reality Gaze, that both of these guys here are Scorpios. And then I'm like, okay, there we go. That makes sense. Um, because I can tell you something about Scorpios. And that made him look just even a little more hotter to me. Not that I would, because 2,500 women. But I was very intrigued. That's the only thing I can say. Intrigued. Yeah. Um, yeah. Anyway, let's move on from that. he, he says, "You want to try?" So she tries and she throws her bottle, but guess what? She can't break it. Then she tries another one. That one doesn't break either. She's like, "I really hate these bottles. So the fact that I can't break them is pissing me off right now." So she is able to break the last one though. So yay. Then he has another one, another surprise for her, one more surprise for her. So he goes over to like closer to like the cars and he starts a fire and she's like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, he pulls out the book. Well, he calls his black book, but it's really his like counting book. And he is gonna burn the book. Y'all, he is going to burn the checklist. He's gonna burn it. This is amazing. Who is this person? Now, timing is everything. But this is interesting. I thought this was great. She's loving it. He's ripping it piece by piece, and I'm like, we're gonna be here for a minute because 2,500 people. It's gonna take us some space in this book. Um, and she's glad that he did it. He's, definitely therapeutic, but she still wants and needs him to go to actual therapy. But he does kind of say, like, you know, probably in his head, I've destroyed the trophies, the bottles, destroyed the book. So maybe she'll come home with me because he probably wants to now make up with his penis. But she stands firm in her boundary and says, just take this day by day. She's not going back to the apartment with him. She's going to go back to the hotel. So we are going down to therapy in the next scene. Our therapist's name is Soraya. And we kind of talk about the fact that we got issues. He's a control freak. That's one issue. I overreact. That's another issue. And just talk about the fight with her. And she's like, we have the same birthday. So I'm like, no, you don't. You don't have the same birthday. One of you is born on the 20th, the other one's born on the 21st. You do not have the same birthday. Despite the fact that you really want to sit here and say you guys were born the same moment, 2 years apart. Anyway, but she she puts the theory out there here where she's kind of like, I think he acted this way because I said I had a gift for him back at the apartment and he probably didn't have one for me. So I think that this is kind of where this all comes from. And he says it doesn't like it's kind of what happened. He just kind of wanted to make her happy. And he felt like she was kind of rejecting him. And I guess her not accepting the vanity, even though she didn't like these vanities, was triggering for him. But he apologizes for pulling her hair out because that was brought up as well. He's like, it wasn't on purpose. I'm sorry for that. You could have started with that. We know it wasn't on purpose. She knows it wasn't on purpose, but you could have said sorry for that and just call it a day. So they kind of say the therapist kind of wants to dig deep as to what his feelings were in this moment. And he says his immediate reaction was anger. And the therapist says, well, yes, your immediate reaction would be anger, but that anger stems from something. That doesn't, no one just, anger is a secondary emotion. What is really going on? And he says, disappointment. Okay, we're getting somewhere. He felt disappointed. He felt rejected. Those are all things that anyone can understand. And he also says, which we're doing really well, right? With him saying, I felt disappointed, I felt rejected. But then we go down the shitter, and he says, well, I don't like that she's not submissive anymore. She kind of challenges me. And she never used to do that, and all of a sudden, she's challenging me. She's not submissive anymore, and her not being submissive anymore makes me think like I'm gonna lose her. That's the control. He's losing control over the situation. So the fact that he's losing control over it, which that probably lends to his OCD, when you're losing control over something, you need to gain back the control. So his way of gaining back the control is acting like an alpha male. And acting like an alpha male in a dangerous way. So I'm like, okay, I don't like that you said that, but now I understand you. So I get where this is coming from. It's all irrational, maybe to the outside person, but for him, it's all rational. So she does say, like, that's a problem though. And he's like, I just want to make you happy. Kind of, and I know he doesn't like seeing her upset. It bothers him. But if her being upset bothers you, like maybe again, this is kind of maybe out of his control a little bit. But if this is upsetting, like these types of things are going to upset her, then why wouldn't you try to stray away from that? Why would you go towards that and make it worse? And I think the therapist says, the way to ensure that she's happy is to also validate her feelings. And you need to make sure you're doing that. Um, this was a great session. I hope they stick with it though. We'll see. Because in 90-day universe, they only do one and then done. But anyways, that is that for Sarper and Shekinah. Let's move on to Joanne and Sean, y'all. So we see the kids are playing video games in the first scene, and the adults are going to be going out. Joey is in charge of the kids. So Noelle has a lot of questions for Sean. Obviously, she doesn't know him, so she has questions. And she's like, we got concerns. We don't know you. Are you a murderer? Wow. He's like, it's been 3 years. That's the long game if I was going to murder her. He is not going to throw her into an alley like he's Jack the Ripper. It's not going to happen. But she, like me, like I think a lot of us, definitely listens to a lot of true crime podcasts and probably watches Dateline as well. So yeah, she hears Keith Morrison in her head being like, whatever Keith Morrison says. So this is great. Anyway, so she does ask, like, what are your intentions? What are your plans for the future? Well, girl, if you only knew. The future is upon us. But they say to hopefully be under one roof. But which roof, though? Because is that roof going to be in Ireland? Is that roof going to be in New York? Like, which roof? And he says in the moment that, she went straight in with no lube. Wait. He's basically saying, like, she's not just taking it slow, asking me maybe what my favorite color is. You know, foreplay. She's just gone right in with no lube. And I'm like, oh, okay. Choice words. Um, but what a great analogy. A really great analogy, because it helped me understand where his mind's at. Anyway, so, um, so she said, like, are you going to go to the States to visit her, meet her family? Like after all of this time, like that hasn't happened. You guys have been together for 3 years. You've been married for 2. Like, and that hasn't happened. Like, what's up with that? I personally have that question as well. But here's where we learn, well, The reason that he hasn't gone to the States is because he has a visa issue. And immediately I'm thinking, oh no, is this like Rachel and John that he maybe gouged someone's eyes out or something? Like, is that what happened? No, not what happened. He overstayed a visa. Um, so he had to stay out of the States for 3 years due to that. So we don't know how much longer that's gonna be going for, but yeah. And even then, even if he waits those 3 years, he still can encounter issues getting into the States, even at that point. But he says, yeah, I mean, I like America, but I didn't really like America. I got homesick. Um, so I don't think he is necessarily hell bent on going back to the States anyway. But he does have to say, like, the situation isn't easy. Everyone needs to be thought about. She needs to be thought about. Her kids need to be thought about. Her mom needs to be thought about. Her friends, family need to be thought about. On his side, same thing. And the one thing that he said here that I didn't think about before is Bella's mom needs to also be thought about because she clearly has some form of visitation with Bella. So that's another thing. And I know Joanne is also in the same boat as well with her youngest. Um, but I mean, like, I don't know what you do. I don't know. I honestly, this isn't gonna go good. I know these guys are married, but I don't think they thought things through. I really don't. But that doesn't matter because now they're gonna tell everybody. So in the next scene, we're going to this gorgeous castle. I didn't catch the name of it. Or actually, I did catch the name of it, but I didn't write it down, so now I don't remember. But it's beautiful. The grounds are gorgeous. Like the thing that draws me into Ireland is like like the grass just looks so much greener on the other side. It really does. It's gorgeous. So as they're going to the house, they're gonna have like a chat, right? When they get to the house. Um, but he's gonna be their tour guide in the meantime. So they're gonna go through the house first, have some fun touring the beautiful castle, and then they will have some tea and and afterwards, and they're gonna break the news. So we do see that they have like some real birds on display that are clearly dead, but that's an interesting choice. Um, but then it's tea time. We got some tea, we got the sandwiches, like it's just great. And we have bad news coming. But they say good news. They say good news. I'm not gonna say bad news. Because I don't think it's bad news, but it's overwhelming news. It's a lot of news, like too much. So they say, now that we're all here together, we have some news to share. And they think, or at least Bella thinks, like, is it like a gender reveal? Is there a baby? She's like, oh no. Oh no. There are no babies here. No babies. None. Nil. So they're like, well, we did a thing. They did a thing, y'all. They did a thing. A thing. Jesus. About 2 years ago. And that thing is that we were married. And my heart hurt. Bella just instantly in this moment is like, no, you're not. Like, you're joking. Like, where's the ring? And they show the ring. And even with the physical proof of a ring, Bella continuously through this conversation, because obviously others are pitching in now, but even while other people are saying, Noelle saying what you're saying, Joey saying what you're saying, Jesse says something eventually, all through that, all I could hear was Bella saying, no, you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not. Like, constantly. This little girl is in denial. And I understand why she's in denial. Her father has been lying to her for the past 2 years that not only were they married, that's one thing, that they weren't even together. You're basically throwing onto her, this woman is not only now your girlfriend, but she's actually your wife. Why in the 2 years couldn't you have not told your daughter, "Oh, by the way, me and Joanne are actually together. I didn't tell you initially because I didn't wanna put her into your life if there was if, like, nothing was gonna come from this." From the moment you decided you wanted to marry this woman, that's when you should have told your daughter that you and Joanne are together. So at least then when you decided to tell her that you're married, like along with everybody else, then it wouldn't have been such a blow. This is what I'm gonna say. You don't want to tell your family and your friends right away, fine. You don't have to. I think 2 years is excessive, but you don't have to tell them right away if you don't want to. But what I do think should have happened is maybe after a few months of this, of them being married, both of these parents separately should have told their children, by the way, me and Sean or me and Joanne, we're married. And that's that. Now, I understand maybe Joanne saying she didn't want to do that because they hadn't met him physically, but they've had conversations with him. So why couldn't you have told them? Bella, on the other hand, has actually met Joanne, has already built some sort of relationship with Joanne, physically speaking. So you should have told your children individually because that is their mother, that is her father. They would have better appreciated that separately away from, you know, Joey and Jesse have to think about Bella's reaction and Sean's reaction. Bella has to worry about them and Joanne's it's just too much. It's overwhelming. It's very selfish on their part. I really truly think that. And trust me, I have more I'm gonna say. Sean is hot. Sean can get it. Sean pissed me off though in this episode a little bit with this scene. Noelle, Noelle, yes, being her best friend feels rejected as well, and the fact that she wasn't included in any of this, but she's an adult, a grown-ass adult that can regulate her emotions and get through this. Joey, yes, is an adult, but he's still 18. And then you have the two younger ones, where this is a lot for them. They went about this immensely in the wrong way. And they kind of just, it feels like they just went into this and we're gonna wing it. Not when it comes to your kids. You're not supposed to wing telling your kids that you're married. But so yeah, that's what's happening there. And I don't know exactly who asked this question, but someone says like, why didn't you tell anybody? And Sean, without even taking into account his daughter's feelings, her kids' feelings, Noelle's feelings, he is like, well, I mean, where's the congratulations? You're just going right into the interrogation. No, fuck off. You literally kept this information from your 8-year-old daughter. She kept this information from everyone in her life. You have a mom who doesn't know either. You've hid this for not like it's been a few months, it's been 2 years. That is, and again, I'm trying to see this on both sides because, like I said, I understand what it's like on Joanne and Sean's side, not telling people right away that you got married, but I damn well didn't wait 2 years. It was months. I don't even think it was even 6 months. Definitely wasn't 6 months. It was maybe 2. And yeah, it's just, ugh, there's just a way to go about this and this isn't it. And letting someone work through their emotions in this moment is what you need to allow them to do. You being on your high horse, being like, well, why can't you congratulate us? Because they're in shock. Because they weren't expecting this. You literally just had a conversation with Noelle separately from the kids where you're talking about the future and all of this. I don't know. Maybe then was the time you could have told Noelle. because you guys are talking about, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, and blah, 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 leaving out the most important part of it out. Why didn't they tell Noelle in this moment? At least if Noelle could have worked through her feelings, that maybe she could have been some sort of support for these kids alongside them finding out, be support to them and have been able to have already processed that. They'd have no clue what the hell they're doing, really and truly. So she says, no, I congratulated you, but I have things on my mind, right? Joey says he's annoyed, and here's why he says this. He says, my mom says to me, and obviously to Jesse as well, to tell her anything. There's nothing you can't say that she's not going to understand and she's not going to hear. Tell me anything. But yet, this big thing that she's been keeping to herself, she didn't tell me about. He can't compute how you can tell me to tell you anything, but you didn't tell me everything. I 100% understand what he's saying here. Jesse is definitely not okay. His reaction is he completely shut down. He completely shut down. He didn't even say anything for the longest time while poor Bella is saying what she's saying. Joey's saying kind of what he's saying. And he says, like, well, I guess congratulations. Like, what am I supposed to say to you? Noelle is saying what she's saying. Jesse is just silent. He's not saying anything. And when Joanne says to Jesse, like, what are you thinking? What, you're not saying a whole lot. And he's like, I'm just confused. I'm confused because, like, married? Like, what's happening here? He's confused. It's a lot for a kid to process. But then we kind of go back to Bella a little bit, and of course Bella is just completely shut down as well. Bella says, because okay, again, oh, Johnson, again, like I said, John pissed me off in this episode because he's like to Bella, I thought you'd be happy out of everybody here. What are you saying? My guy, she doesn't even know you're together. She's been under the false pretense that you guys are just friends. And in the car ride to the airport, you're saying you're so excited to see Joanne, and she's thinking you're sus because you're acting like you have a crush on her, when she doesn't even realize that you guys are actually in love with each other and you're married. And you didn't take the opportunity, even then, not necessarily to say you're married, but to say, oh, by the way, we're trying a thing, something, you know? But even if he said at that point, oh, we're trying a thing here, that still wasn't enough time for her to process this because this has been going on for 3 years now. Do I think Bella's a little naive? Yeah, but she's 8. Like I said already, she's 8 years old. Like, she doesn't understand how the world works. Ain't no one traveling to Ireland for no reason. You know what I mean? Like, she's 8. So it's his, like, I know he loves her. You can tell the way he talks about her that he loves her dearly. But in this moment, it's just like, can you seriously not understand from an outside perspective, include the fact that outside perspective is your 8-year-old daughter, that this is a lot. And she has to comfort you in the fact that you feel no one's happy for you. Your 8-year-old daughter has to comfort you and reassure you. She's to validate your feelings. Okay. Great parenting. Really. But she says to him, I am happy. I'm just confused as well. She's not okay. Your kids are not okay. Isn't there a show where it says the kids are all right, or the kids are okay? The kids are not okay, or whatever the show is called. Like, it's like, oh man, these two, man, I can't. This was not great. But anyways, that's it for them. So we're gonna take a break here because we only have 2 more couples after this. We talked a while about Joanne and Sean. So we're going to take a little break here, and when we come back, we will jump in with the second half of the episode. Hi, everyone. So, I have a song for you to take a listen to. This song is by Omen 44, and the song is called Culture Pusher. So, I did get this song from the Podsafe music directory on the World Podcast Network. So, if you like the song and you want to listen to it or download it for yourself, you can go down to the show notes where there will be a link to the song that you can get access to, including the link to the Podsafe music directory, again, on the World Podcast Network. So without further ado, I'm going to play that song for you now.
Yeah. Yo, 4-4, what up? Yo, Raz, what up?
Traffic with Mariana, action shadow. Hustle or die trying before your dream shatter. Don't be phony like Putin, Rasputin. Lack of foundation, objection. Aiming missiles like javelin. Article 5, act of aggression. Made by my image, 127. Seventh letter God, original man. Evil genius, man-made, made man. I'm the man, either that madman. This the Genesis, I can feel it. Based on weird science, freeze MCs, 32nd degrees. I see equal T, justice I seek. Freeze MCs, 32nd degrees. I see equal T, justice I seek. Right or wrong, right along, this the culture pusher.
Get on down with your basher. Get on down.
Right or wrong, right along, this the culture pusher.
Get on down with your basher. Get on down.
Right or wrong, right along, this the culture pusher.
Get on down with your basher. Get on down.
Right or wrong, right along, this the culture pusher.
Get on down with your basher. Get
Hey, yo,
on down.
186,000 miles per second. Sound is reckless, fake collection, news broadcast. Twist the raw records and art is lost in the jaw section. The boss man, lawless gland. Hands need mozzarella, mute the beat, mute the acapella, drop the Sean Carter, Jewel Rockefeller. Wake 'em, take 'em out the early grave, slave making, chains breaking, it's insane. Respect first, my aims was never fame, they link. Lames is limited in the mind, they can't think. The almighty, marvelous pen ink king. Ralph Lauren, original Indian baby, blow the kiss slowly. Teach you to mind for gold within, homie. It's sentimental how I send flows to your mental. Like my daughter's doll, something held close. Heaven ain't high and hell ain't low, but rats stay high. Rock at low, no.
Right or wrong, right along, this the culture pusher.
Get on down with your basher. Get on down.
Right or wrong, right along, this the culture pusher.
Get on down with your basher. Get on down.
Right or wrong, right along, this the culture pusher.
Get on down with your basher. Get on down.
Right or wrong, right along, this the culture pusher.
Get on down
Yo,
with your basher.
I know they hear me in the background. Drums got that max sound. Lost a lot of battles, but you know I'll never back down. Shout out to my people getting money, counting stacks now. Everybody lit, they put my city on the map now. Mine worth a lot, some do not know how to act now. Started selling records, the money like moving packs now. Stacking up my guap, started to play the background. When we tried to run up, you get done up, sit your ass down. We was on the blocks in the hallways, my pops told me run straight. Nothing for a nigga in the street, just hella gunplay. New York City, belly of the beast, I wake and I pray. Get up, go to work today, a blessing, son, you gotta get yours. The city red, it's like inside of Gomorrah. Saw a vision in the sky, was a sign from the Lord. Ayo, these ghetto scriptures painting pictures of this pain I witnessed. The flesh will die, but righteousness will always stay infinite. I know it's been a minute, you know that heaven sent it. I'm like a chemist with it, cooking up a message with it. Who lie? Said hip hop was dead, we bring it to ya. King Illa, the realest with no computers. Let's go.
Right or wrong, right along, this the culture pusher.
Get on down with your basher. Get on down.
Right or wrong, right along, this the culture pusher.
Get on down with your basher. Get on down.
Right or wrong, right along, this the culture pusher.
Get on down with your basher. Get on down.
Right or wrong, right along, this the culture pusher.
Get on down with your basher. Get on down.
I am back. So let's jump in to Statler and Dempsey. More of the nonsense that pissed me off in the last episode. So let's get to it. It's not a lot, but it's enough to piss me off. So Statler is struggling with the boat, obviously, as we know. She says, maybe the reality of like a reality of what I'm dealing with is maybe just too much for her. Dempsey says that Statler says that she is comfortable in misery and that she can't compute that because why would anyone want to be in misery? What I think she was trying to say to you, Dempsey, that I think you took what she said very literally. She has grown to be comfortable in her own skin and everything that comes with it. Because it is better to be comfortable in whatever comes, and she's dealing with a myriad of different things that can just come. And it's better for her to be comfortable in it than to be uncomfortable in it, because being uncomfortable in it creates more anxiety. So that's what she's trying to say. And you took her words, you didn't read between the lines, and you took it very literal. And Dempsey says, like, to her, I think she says, like, or maybe she said the camera, I'm not sure, but Dempsey says that if you're anxious, you could have just told me you needed space. She did say this to her. And it pissed me off because I'm like, but she did. She told you she wanted the space. She told you to stop, like, badgering her. Please leave me alone right now. Can we talk when we got off the boat? She's saying all of this to you, and you completely disregarded everything she was saying to you. You made this more about you and how you're being inconvenienced than her needs in the moment. She can't address your needs right now because her needs are taking precedent right now, and there's nothing wrong with that. And she literally said, can we talk about this when we get off the boat? Because I just can't do this right now. Well, I think before she said that, she was just saying, can we not talk about this right now? But she does say it to her here too. And we'll get to that. But she says, I think she says, like, or I think she said, I guess, shut up or something like that. But she's like, how you deal with me and whatever. But as Statler says, like, if you understand anxiety, then you would get, like, how this is uncomfortable. And she's like saying, I wish you were in my body right now, But she's like, I just want to share. She wants to share her excitement with somebody. Okay, but that's not Statler. And you guys have been talking long enough that you should know that's not necessarily always going to be Statler, depending on the situation. And sometimes you also have to be able to regulate that your feelings have to become secondary. Because what you're basically saying to her, and again, like, anxiety is something she can't control all the time, or any time, really. And in those moments when her anxiety levels are heightened, those are the times where your feelings have to be secondary. And you're literally saying to her the thing that you don't want her to do to you. You're literally saying to her, what you're feeling right now doesn't matter. It's secondary to my excitement. You're literally doing to her what you don't want her to do to you. These two do not belong with each other. And you know what? Dempsey says as much in this moment. But before that, Statler says, like, can we just talk about this when we get off the boat? This is where she said. She's like, but I'll have to drive. She's like, no, you don't. We could just sit there for a few hours and talk this out. Like, we live in a van. We could do whatever we want. Thank you. She's right. What is the point of having van life if you are always going to be driving when maybe you don't necessarily want to be driving? That again is showing you do not care about Statler in this moment. You only care about yourself, and you are only thinking about where you need to be instead of where you need to go in this relationship. that right now what she needs from you is she needs you to listen, and you're not listening. You're invalidating her. And you maybe can, like, if really what she wants is not even really so much validation, but just to be heard. She just wants you to understand right now, I can have this conversation. When we get on land, I will hear you. I will validate you the best that I can. And then we can go on with our lives. This can be solved if both of them can hear each other, but one doesn't even want to, like, compromise. And that's what's frustrating with me for when it comes to Dempsey in this moment. But she, like I said, she wants to push back on that. She's like, maybe we're just not compatible with each other. So my girl is literally ready to break up with with Statler in the middle of a panic attack. Sounds right. So you think the thing that is going to help her anxiety is to put her in an even more anxious situation. My girl, WebMD is your best friend, and you couldn't even utilize WebMD to help you figure out how to handle, or just not even so much handle someone in anxiety or panic attack, but just what it means to be in one. That's a start. She couldn't even do that. So Statler begs her to stop this conversation because she doesn't want to have it while she's in the middle of a panic attack. She's not going to think rationally. That's the other thing. But again, Dempsey can do, because all she can do is think of herself, is say, no, I won't. That is by far the worst thing that you can say to somebody during a panic attack. Now, we're all guilty. Like, sometimes I didn't always understand, and sometimes my mom would also push back on things, and it would irritate me as well. But as an adult, I learned there's just certain things you just can't do. Certain things you just can't say. And you learn from the experience. I unfortunately had to learn from the experience. But we have so much at our fingertips now that we just didn't even have before. And she has that not always reliable, but somewhat reasonable resource, and she's not even using it. So she's like, she really gonna break up with me in the middle of me having a panic attack? I don't know. I don't know. And you know what? But anyway, that's it for Statler and Dempsey. Let's move on to our final couple of this episode, and that is Josh and Lily. So they're going to be making their bed, and she's basically going to be demonstrating kind of what the bed is supposed to look like the day prior to the wedding, because their wedding is in a few days. And in Chinese culture, which I think, again, isn't, I think a lot of us know this, and we kind of saw this as well when they were doing the wedding dress shopping, and red is a sign of good luck, prosperity, all of that. Like, it's which I absolutely love, because red's my favorite color. But I like, that's what red symbolizes for them. So she's kind of showing, like, prior to, like, you're supposed to make the bed and everything red sheets, red pillows, red everything. Everything's red on the bed. And yeah, she says it's good luck, prosperity, and also happiness. But there's also another means to the red bed, and the red bed also means you also have to have sex on the red bed, because it's supposed to be, I don't know exactly the meaning. I guess happiness. I guess that's the happiness. I don't know. But so this gives her an opportunity to bring something up. I saw a side of Lily I wasn't expecting, and I loved it. I know she felt a little bit embarrassed by it, but I loved it. Because yes, we know women need to take charge sometimes because men suck. Anyway, I'm fine. She says, oh, but you can't have sex before you put the red sheets on the bed because, again, the good luck and everything. But she also says she's a little bit embarrassed in saying it, but she says that they haven't had sex in a while. She does explain a little bit later that they haven't had sex since he got to China. I'm sorry, what? I have more. Don't worry. She's excited at the prospect of potentially having sex on the red sheets. She's looking forward to it. My girl is horned up. She's ready to go. And she's like, I wanted to make love. And she's saying things like, she's like whispering it. She's like, I wanted to make love. And she's like, I wanted your body. And I'm like, oh, girl. She wants his body. Like, mm. And, and this is where she says that they haven't had sex since he's been in China. And he makes excuses about the reason why he hasn't had sex with her. The time difference. He's not used to it. He's still coming. He's getting to, used to the differences, right? And y'all, he's also sick. He's so sick. He hasn't been able to have any sex. So, I don't know about you, but I've never met a man who says these reasons are the reasons why I'm not going to have sex with you. He says he's also tired as well. And I'm like, okay. Men get tired. My man included. We still make do. Okay. And sick? Never stopped nobody. I remember having sex with my ex in the middle of a coughing fit. Like nothing like a coughing fit that lasted a couple minutes. Like I was like, I think I must have had a cold and I must have had like some postnasal drip or something. And I was coughing constantly for days at that point. I still managed. Okay. I still managed. And you do what you gotta do. Now, the time difference, maybe I can give you that, but it's like, okay, maybe if you don't have sex the night you come, well, then you could have sex the next night. Something. You haven't had sex with her. Like, how can you, my brain can't compute how you're near someone who you haven't been near for months and like your body just responds to that. You know what I mean? I just don't get it. Like, I'm near my man, and even if it hasn't been that long, I'm near him, my body just responds. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. So it's just like, at some point, and he's been there. Has it been a couple weeks? Like, I'm not sure how long he's been there, but at least at minimum been a couple weeks. What's going on? So she says in China, men are supposed to initiate. They're supposed to make that first step. So that's part of the reason why she hasn't, and probably also just doesn't feel comfortable doing that. So she then takes that as him not taking initiative to initiate. She takes that as like, are you attracted to me? Do you still like my body? Like, she's feeling rejected. And he has to like, oh no, I love your body. And of course I find you attractive. I'm tired and I'm sick. So she hopes that this conversation that they had, he takes it seriously. And she says again, she's like, I just want. That's all I just want. That's all she wants to have sex with her husband. I don't think that's a crazy request, obviously. But he says, I want to, but just give me a few more days. My guy, it's been a few days. Let's get on. But that is it for episode 12 of The Other Way. We're on track with The Other Way, and I'm going to get on track with the rest of them. Trust me, I'm getting there. You are going to get a B90. So I think I'm going to get this out to you Saturday, and then Saturday morning, and then you should have a B90 as well. So that's my plan. But yeah, that's what's up. So that's we're on track here. The plan is going to be, like I said, you're getting this Saturday. Yesterday you would have gotten the prior 2 episodes for The Other Way and Sister Wives. This one you're going to get today. B90 episode 2 you'll get later on today. And then most likely plan, fingers crossed, for the most recent B90 episode you should be getting Monday. That's the hope, but we'll see how that goes. If it's not Monday, it will be Tuesday. And then we'll do also Golden Bachelorette as well. And then I'll get into some Selling Sunsets. Hopefully, we'll see how that goes. I don't want to go too far behind because I never finished Perfect Match. I do still want to finish Perfect Match, but I don't want to finish Perfect Match in place of other things that are more recent. So we'll see. We'll sprinkle in some Perfect Match at some point. I don't know when, if I ever do. We'll see. Because we also have Love is Blind coming soon. But anyway, that is that. And that is it for this episode. So if you like what you heard, please rate, review the podcast on either Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Also, don't forget that you can also share us with everyone in your life if you really love this. And I do want to read those reviews. I'm definitely getting 5-star ratings, but I want to read those reviews. So send me those reviews and I will read those 4 and 5-star reviews on the podcast. Also, we're on every one of your favorite podcast apps, every one of them, including you can find us on YouTube at Reality Tea Times 2. If you want to connect with us, you can do so by going to either Facebook or Instagram at Reality Tea Times 2. You can also find us on Twitter, TikTok, Reddit at Reality Tea Times 2 Pod. We also have our email, which is at realityteatimes2@hotmail.com. Definitely want to hear from you guys. And we also have our new website where you can listen to all of these episodes. You can review the podcast on there as well. You can connect with me in any way, all the stuff. It's all there, and you can find me there at www.realityteatimes2, all spelled out, .podpage.io. It's there. And don't forget, I also have my other podcast with my friend Mikkel, Next Take Podcast, where we talk about all kinds of different topics. But you can find us on any of your favorite podcast apps over there as well. Or you can also go to YouTube and you go to Next Take Podcast, as well as our website, which is solo.to/Next Take Podcast. So yeah, there's that, and that's basically that. And again, don't forget, if all of this information is overwhelming, we do have all of the links, everything in our show notes. But that is it for now, guys. Thanks. Bye.